Hey everyone, I'm Amy, a designer advocate at Figma, and I'm here with TJ Pitre.
And hi, I'm TJ Pitre. I'm founder and CEO of Southleft, a primarily front-end design and development firm specializing in design systems.
First, I want to set the stage for folks who are just getting into these workflows. Our MCP server, Figma's first-party tool, gives agents the ability to write to the canvas through a tool called Use Figma. One of the most important things that people should know about Figma's native MCP tool is that it was built deliberately unopinionated. So it gives agents the capability to write to Figma for you, and the skills ecosystem is open, meaning Figma publishes foundational skills right out of the box with our native tool, but we also let the community build on top of that, which is really exciting. So let's level set for designers who are new to this and haven't used skills before. Could you explain what a skill is to a designer who's never heard the term?
A skill typically starts with a markdown file that has instructions in it, and then the instructions within that markdown file might also point to scripts that can actually run.
Yeah, so you can almost think of a skill as like an instruction set for your agent, as a way to onboard your agent to know exactly how you want a certain workflow implemented, depending on your organizational or design needs, conventions, etc.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like strict guidelines.
I think the best way to learn about skills is hands-on, and I actually built one that I would love your thoughts and help on refining.
Sure.
So the problem I'm trying to solve is for designers who are building code-first prototypes. So when you do that, the speed is undeniable, right? It's really powerful. Right here, we have a prototype that's being pulled from our code base. You see the local host here in the browser. So this is a live production prototype, right? Which is a great artifact in some contexts. But to get feedback and alignment, I'm hearing that this is a really big problem for some teams. With a live prototype like this, it's hard for a design lead to leave a comment on a certain state. Your engineer can't see the flow laid out from end to end. A PM might have some questions in a specific embedded part of the flow that you might not want to run this prototype over and over to be able to capture that feedback. That's what our canvas is great for, though. So I built a skill that takes a live prototype in localhost and abstracts it to Figma, sends it to Figma using our Use Figma tool, and creates annotations with implementation and interaction details for your developer, design manager, design peer, anyone in between to be able to collaborate on, collect feedback, and align on building the right thing, since building anything at all is a lot faster and more efficient these days. You want to make sure that you're building what you actually want and need for your users.
Yep.
Does that sound like a use case that you've come across?
Yeah. There's one of the things that we always talk about when involving AI-supported design systems workflows is this idea of like purpose and intent. The idea is that like just looking at this prototype, there's some like interesting easing stuff that's happening, like when this card moves up and down, and then there's some like interesting transitions that are happening when you're moving from here. So iterating over those things when you're like vibing a design like this, it's hard to, at least in my practice, it's been hard to really nail down those pieces. You can get explicit and say like, I want this transition to be 0.2 milliseconds and I want it to move from opacity something to opacity something, but it seems like it would be much easier to use the Use Figma tool, send it back to Figma along with those annotations. So that's the designer and developer intent coming together.
So let's take this from localhost, from our code base, and bring it onto the canvas in Cursor. There is where I'm going to run this skill to be able to do this. So now we're in Cursor, and the localhost is also available here in our Cursor browser, but I'm going to start a new agent chat and ask it to bring this to Figma using my skill. So bring my localhost prototype into Figma using my prototype-to-figma skill. And that's the name of my skill. I'm going to include the URL to the Figma file I want it to write to and let it cook.
It's worth noting that sometimes this part takes a little second. Also, the model that you're using usually impacts the fidelity and timing.
Yeah.
It's also worth noting that tokens are something to take into consideration too.
For sure.
It's worth mentioning that you're using thinking on high, which is something I do recommend if your tokens allow and your plan allows, because since this is a first pass and you're basically setting up all of these artifacts on your canvas with annotations, it's important that it gets it the most right in that first pass.
So while that's cooking in the background, I want to go through the skill MD file and just walk through the anatomy a little bit. So here is, again, that instruction set that we're feeding our agent to tell it to implement exactly what we need it to, how we want it to, with all of our rules and conventions. So do you have anything that you see here that stands out to you, how this is set up, what you're used to seeing?
No, this is pretty standard. I mean, like I was saying earlier, like skills could range from just being a standard markdown file, but also they could be packaged with actual scripts to do. It looks like this is just a really explicit guidelines as to how you're wanting to create this canvas-based generation. So it's going to run through and it's kind of going to do like a little bit of a diagnostics on the code base to say, okay, I have a file to do a thing with, and then we kind of see what comes out of the other end.
Let's see what's happening in Figma. So here is the agent output after running that skill. We can see up here there's a little overview for what was created. So again, this is the localhost prototype that's now represented in Figma. So all the flows in that prototype are actually here, which is super cool. And it also has this design system gaps section. Technically they're gaps because it's new components that were created as part of my iteration. So it's interesting, like, is it a gap or is it a design system contribution recommendation?
Yeah, this is
which
the
is cool.
design to code parity tool. Like, this is the piece where it recognizes some. I love how it just kind of puts it out there, and then it's up to a human to make a decision on whether or not this is something that needs to be adjusted on the code side or the design side.
Exactly. It calls it out right away, so you don't have to click through a live prototype screen by screen to see where that drift is. And here we see the different states of the flow, and we see these annotations, which is super cool. It tells us exactly what we're looking at, what the state changes are, really nice implementation details here for our developer that, I'll be honest, would be a little hard for me to create this level of in-depth annotations by hand. But I do see some room for improvements here. Just even visually, we can see that all of these elements are kind of overlapping. There doesn't seem to be great spatial awareness in this skill yet. So I'm thinking that's something we can tweak. What do you think?
Yeah. So usually when stuff happens like this, skill or not skill, when you're asking AI to do something, AI is going to work best based off of the context you're providing it. Sometimes AI needs a little bit of a boost, and then you can either manually say, hey, I just noticed that the spatial awareness is a little bit off on that. But then since it's a skill and you want this to be a repeatable pattern, it's probably best to address it at the source and then edit the skill to say, hey, upon completion, you might want to go ahead and do another round trip just to do either take a screenshot or examine the coordinates of where each frame is. However you want to explicitly spell it out in the skill is up to you, but adding some sort of indication that the AI should do one final last check. It's like one more round trip to say, okay, things are actually good.
Before saying
AI will confidently lie to you sometimes.
Yeah.
It'll be like, I am done here, and it's like, I did a great job, and pat itself on the back, and then you'll go here and say, wait a minute.
Job's not done.
Yeah, job not done. So that's why I always like to have like one line at the bottom where it says, all right, I've completed and validated, and then I like to say, did you really?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and let's have you do one more trip, and then more often than not, it's going to find some things that needs fine tuning.
So should we do that live together?
Yeah, let's go to the skill. The skill, so again, the skill is the markdown file. It's the explicit instructions that we gave it. It did a really good job defining all of these different layouts and frames here. So it looks like there's some minor, just little inconsistencies between the spacing and some elements within these frames that I think we can just mention that it checks up on in the markdown file.
Let's do it. So now we're back in the skill MD file. Let's add that final round trip check that you mentioned.
Yep. There you go.
Here we are. Okay, and I'm just going to like add it right here. Is it really that easy?
Yeah. Yeah. You can say something like, before validating a completed state, be sure that all elements and frames are properly aligned and there are no overlapping elements or sections or something like that. That's off the top of my head, but you might want to be a little bit more explicit and refined when you're thinking about this piece. But basically, we just want to indicate before the AI tells us that they've done their job to make one more round trip.
Should we try it?
Let's do it.
I'm gonna commit changes and leave one note here so I know what was committed. Cool. Let's run the skill again and see what it produces. So now we're back in Cursor, and I'm going to prompt in a new chat to run the skill again because I've updated it.
Go for it.
Cool. So after we edited our skill, here is the output. So we can see visually it's a lot nicer. It's more spread out. You don't have overlapping elements. This is a small visual tweak in the grand scheme of things. So there's a lot more iterating we can do on this skill, but for a first pass to just show people how you can go about editing and improving these skills and what a before and after output looks like. It's a pretty good start.
It's a great start, yeah.
So I'm feeling really good about how this looks right now. I would love to publish this to the Figma skills community together as co-authors. What do you think?
I love it.
Let's do it.
How do we do that?
So now that our skill is ready to be contributed to the community, we can go to the community skills Figma page here. And here you'll see some of our foundational skills. You'll also see other skills that folks in the community have contributed, which is really cool. We have a lot of design.
Rad spacing.
Yeah. We have a lot of design systems tools, obviously, which like you're probably a huge fan of, and you've maybe already seen some of these before, and I'm sure you have some of your own that you can contribute here. In order to share these skills to be featured here for other folks to fork and build on and be able to use, you just click this contribute to GitHub button. And from here, there's a submission and review process for you.
Contribution guidelines.
Exactly, just for you to be
Pretty
able.
Standard.
Yeah, pretty standard. Just for you to be able to add your skills to our community page. So we're going to have a co-authored skill soon, which I'm so excited for, and that will be listed in the description of this video. You can build one, iterate on it with a friend, and share it with the community all in one sitting. So TJ, thank you so much for being here and sharing your expertise. I learned so much. This was so fun for me. Any parting words for the community?
Yeah, I think it's a cool model. I love the idea of snapping on skills. I think it's a great contribution to the already awesome native MCP, and I'm excited to see where this goes.